Hey guys, it's Joe, and welcome back to my guides for the rares of the Mist of Pandaria. Today we will be looking at the Timeless Isle, which is the new area introduced in patch 5.4. I must admit to you, of all the rares guides I've done, this one is the most daunting. We're talking about 31 rares on this island alone that make up the base achievement, Timeless Champion. Geographically, the island's not the biggest place in the world, but man, did they jam-pack it with all kinds of rares, different items, all kinds of things that you can do. The island was made to explore and for you to find things on your own. There aren't quests that push you to this place and that. You are there to explore and find things on your own. Like I said, daunting. But I think if we stick to the basics, we'll be fine. So let's take a look at what we have to start with. Let's first look at the base achievement, which is Timeless Champion. Defeat all the rare creatures of the Timeless Isle listed below. And you will see, I'm not joking, there's all 31. And some of those, you need to have one of them to get an item, to summon another one. Folks, it's crazy on the Timeless Isle. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Now, we'll also go on, I want to show you this other achievement, which is nuts as well. It's called Going to Need a Bigger Bag, and they are not kidding. You talk about storage space issues. These rares drop more stuff for us to have in our bags, just like the original rares, some vanity stuff and everything else. Now, the list you're seeing is only partial because you have to scroll down. In-game, there's so many. There's nearly 60 different items on this list. Now, don't get me wrong, some of them are vendor items. They're not all drops from the rares, but the majority of them are. So there's another thing to be keeping in mind when you're going to be running around killing rares on the Timeless Isle. While these next items don't exclusively pertain to the rares themselves, you'll get a lot of these off the rares, so I wanted to cover them. Of course, we've got your Lesser Charm of Good Fortune, which we all know about those. The new currency in this particular patch and for this area called the Timeless Coin, which you can use to purchase various things from vendors. You're also going to have something called Timeless Loot. You're going to see a Timeless Signet here. It's a ring, 496 eye level. It is also Battle.net account, so you can ship it to alts. You then right-click the item, and whatever your loot specialization is, it will be an appropriate piece of gear for that loot specialization. So, you know, you're going to gear up alts and everything really, really fast. I think that's an amazing part of this island. While 496 may not be good for your main, if you need something a little bit higher, there is something called a Burden of Eternity. This is a very rare drop, but when you do use it, you get a item level 535 from that particular 496 timeless loot that you got. So you can gear up your main that way too, or of course, if you want to have a 535 item on an alt as well. This is definitely Blizzard's way of playing catch-up, or helping us play catch-up in terms of our gear for patch 5.4. Again, while those drops are not limited to just the rares, I wanted to show you them because if you're going to kill rares, you're going to be getting some of those. So I wanted you to understand a little bit of what you're getting into. Let's go ahead and take a look at the map as we transition to show you where these rare spawns are. Now, this map was given to us very nicely by Euphyley over at wowrarespawns.blogspot.com. She has helped me out on this project quite a bit. Big hats off to her, but you can see how crazy this whole thing is. They're all over the place, and again, these are the ones for the base achievement alone. There is one extra one. You will see Wizig, the vendor in the middle. He is a vendor who pops up from time to time. He is rare, but he's not a part of the base achievement, so we won't be covering him. But just so you know, that does exist, and you will be able to get some interesting items from him. But we're going to focus on the Silver Dragon killable rares here in this particular guide, as always. Now, there is one caveat to not only this guide, but to the achievement Timeless Champion, and that is if you do not have the legendary cloak, you will not be able to kill all 31 of these. There is one, the Archerius of Flame, that you can see up in the Ordon Sanctuary with the pink circles on each corner. You cannot go into that area of the map if you do not have the legendary cloak. You will be ported out, so unless you do, you are going to be missing that particular rare. Like, unfortunately, my guide is going to be missing that rare because I did not have a legendary cloak and I was not able to get in there. So I do apologize that essentially this guide is going to be missing out on that particular rare, but we'll still cover all 30 of the other ones. Trust me, I'm going to have to do it in 2 videos just because there are so many. So that being the case, let's go ahead and get started with the ones we can actually cover. We're going to go over towards the Horde area with the Hujin landing and take on Chillon, who is a turtle who really just seems like he doesn't want to bother anybody, but, you know, we got to get this stuff done, right? As you can see, he starts out just hiding in his shell, and of course we have to come and bother him because, you know, we need shinies and we need the achievement done. So, the two main abilities I want to tell you about that you really have to concern yourself with in this particular case, of course, these turtles have very similar things. You're going to see them. Here he goes. Shell Spin. This is going to knock you around. It's going to do some damage. As you can see, I kind of ran away, used my rocket belt to get a little bit further away. And of course I go right back at him. Now the other ability you're going to have to worry about is called Geyser. This is very similar to the Jinyu channeled ability in Pandaria. It'll 2-3 shot you if you're not careful. So you have to interrupt it. Here you can see I physically interrupted him with a stun. So you can take care of him that way. You can also take care of the spin that way. But you also have your interrupts, your wind shears in this case, something like that, to be able to interrupt that channeled spell as well. So those are the two abilities. He has some other ones that aren't really consequential. Those are the ones you really have to worry about when fighting Chillon. Sadly, as of this moment, Chillon does not give any special loot, so let's move on to the next rare. Or should I say rares, because in this case we're going to look at the next three. The Imperial Python, the Iron Fur Steelhorn, and the Emerald Gander. As you can see, they spawn multiple places throughout the forest around the Celestial Courtyard. So we're just going to go ahead and look at each one of those right now. Let's start with the Imperial Python. As you can see, he is one big mother. The good thing is he only has one ability, which is called Huge Fang. You can physically stun it, as you can see here, and it's no problem at all. Otherwise, it takes 30% of your health pool, so be careful of that. Just kill it quick or stun it, whatever you have to do. And once you get him down, hopefully you'll be lucky enough to get his special item, the Death Adder Hatchling, a new cute little snake pet that has the new model. It is pretty cool, so hopefully you were able to procure that in this particular rare. Alright, we head on over to Iron Fur Steelhorn. You can see he's a big old yak. Now there's a lot of yaks running around, but he is sizable, so you'll be able to tell the difference visually pretty well. Now the big thing you got to worry about him is he has an Ox Charge. That will stun you, so you want to try and interrupt that if you can. I didn't see if there was an interrupt. I'm sure you could physically interrupt it in some fashion, but yeah, it'll stun you, so you want to get rid of that. But for the most part, he's pretty much a pushover. Now the special item he could potentially drop is called the Tuft of Yak Fur. It summons a rideable rampaging yak for 3 charges. I think it lasts about 10 seconds. It's actually something that comes off of an elite in the Dread Waste as well. For the longest time I thought this was just a placeholder, but it is indeed the item that he could potentially drop. Just to reiterate, these 3 can be found anywhere in the forest. As you can see, the Emerald Gander decides to hang out by the lake, not far from the Celestial Court. Now, the thing about this particular rare is that you only have 2 things you really need to worry about. One is a gust of wind. As you can see, that's a frontal cone that will knock you back and do some damage. Also has one called Healing Song, which of course heals him up. You want to go ahead and interrupt that in some fashion, one way or another. Again, if you have a wind shear or if you have a physical interrupt, a stomp or some sort of thing that'll actually physically stun the creature, that's the way to go. Now, the item it could potentially drop is called the Wind Feather Plume. As you can see, it's bind to Battle.net account, so you can ship it off to alts if you want. It increases the speed while mounted on a ground mount for 30% for an hour, only usable on Pandaria, so it has limitations. But hey, while you're here on the island doing all the stuff that needs to be done, that's fantastic. 30% will get you a long way all around this timeless isle. Now we're going to scooch on over to the west on the coast for the Great Turtle Fury Shell and the Monstrous Spine Claw. You can see the purple for the Fury Shell and the blue for the Spine Claw as to where they could potentially spawn up and down the coast. The only thing I would advise is be careful because the Horde and Alliance factions have camps there, and so you don't want to run into those by accident. Not that I ever did, sure. Let's start with the Monstrous Spine Claw. As you can see, he's hiding in the water, so you just pull him out. Now, he only has one ability that you really need to concern yourself with, and that is called the Claw Fury. As you can see, he's about to do it here. It's just a frontal cone. It'll whack you into oblivion in about 2 shots, 2-3 shots, though. So if you're familiar with the Mantid rares in Pandaria in any way, shape, or form, that's exactly what it is. So wherever it's at, once he starts to cast it, just don't be there. That's my best advice. As you see, just walk out of the way. You can still DPS him from the rear. Okay, hands up for how many people giggled when I said from the rear. Anyway, what he drops is a pet called the Spine Claw Crab. So, a lot of pets on this island, which I know a lot of people will be excited about. And as you can see, he ran away from me. I'm not sure why he ran away in fear, but hey, apparently he didn't want to give up his pet. And he didn't anyway, so, whatever. Now moving on to the Great Fury Turtle Shell, you can see he's just a turtle hiding in a shell, just like Chillon. Exact same situation, even the exact same abilities. So again, just stay away from his spin or stun him from his spin, and make sure you take care of that geyser, because that will hurt immensely. Unfortunately, just like Chillon, we also don't have any information as to what special item it could potentially drop. So maybe it'll be a turtle pet of some sort or something, I'm not sure, but hopefully we'll know soon enough. Now let's head east a little bit to Gu'Chi, the Swarmbringer. Yeah, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but whatever. And then Zugon the Sour and the Crane Gnasher, those two will be interesting because they actually have interesting mechanics as to how to make the rare spawn. So this is a different, another place where the Isle is different than most places. Looking forward to showing you these right now. Now, let's start with Gu'Chi. As you can see, big old caterpillar type thing with a bunch of little ones running around with it. Seems cute and innocent enough, but let me tell you, they do a damage over time with some poison that you don't want to deal with. Especially the little ones. Each one of those it'll do initial damage as well as damage over time. And with all of that going on at once, you get that many stacks, trust me, you'll die fast. So take care of the little ones first, and then you can deal with Gu'Chi himself. Now, the venom spit that Gu'Chi does is really inconsequential. It really doesn't do that much damage, so just go ahead and kill him if you can kill him as fast as possible. And then if you happen to get, the stack on you, you can just heal through, but it really isn't anything of any significance. And once again, we're dealing with a pet for the potential drop, Swarmling of Gu'Chi, which is, of course, just a little mini version, just kind of like the little ones that were running around it. So, yeah, you can have one to tote around on your own after the fight, hopefully. Now we move over a little bit to where Crane Gnasher spawns. Now, there's the interesting thing about this particular rares. It's not a spawn per se. You're going to see this crane that's been decimated over here, and that's the spawn point for Crane Gnasher. Now, of course, you can see how Crane Gnasher would get his name, demolishing this crane. But how do we get Crane Gnasher to come out? Let's show you. Well, seeing as Crane Gnasher likes cranes, just go up to the coast a little bit, and you can see several cranes hanging out. So all you need to do is go ahead and tag one or two, and pull it over to where that decimated crane was that we saw earlier. As you can see, myself and Euphyley kite these cranes on over to where the other crane was killed, and we just hold on, wait a moment, and there's Crane Gnasher, and now you can take out your rare. Again, the island has these very unique ways of handling the rares, which I think are interesting, and there's not a lot of information about them. So you're going to learn from it from this guide, or you're going to learn from it somewhere else. But it's the fun of exploration, the making of this island just a little bit different than other places that I really like about the entire place. Now, the one ability you have to worry about here on Crane Gnasher is something called Rake. Of course, it does damage over time, and even as a bear tank here, I was taking some significant damage from it, so obviously it's just something you're going to have to deal with. Just heal through it and try and kill him as fast as possible. Now, Crane Gnasher, as you can see, had the potential to drop a pristine stalker hide. Essentially, all that is a big bag of leather goods. So there's going to be a lot of those here, and I'll go through them as we go to them. But yeah, you're going to get a lot of craftable materials from these rares, as well as fun of any items and pets. Now we head on down to Zugon the Sour. As you can see here in this village, there are a lot of elementals kind of hanging around. A giant keg in the middle there. Now, again, kind of like Crane Gnasher, it is an event in which you have to do certain things to get the rare to pop up. So, in this case, you have to kill these elementals. After killing 10 of them, you will end up getting Zugon the Sour to come up. You can see in this shot here in the left-hand corner there that somebody's killing the final one for our spawn, and bam, the suds go to the big keg, and Zugon is available. And yeah, now he wants to kick my butt, especially for standing right next to him. Now, Zugon has various abilities you do have to deal with. First of all, you're going to see a Skunky Ale Crash, which does damage, fire damage, in fact, to anything that goes in its path. As you can see, it took off right in front of him. The other thing is Rain of Skunky Ale. This deals with essentially like the Jinyus that you have to deal with their little rain dance as well in Pandaria. So you can interrupt that, physically interrupt him, and then that'll solve that as well. So otherwise, just, move your feet and don't be where those things are going to be. Like many rares so far, he's going to drop a little mini pet of himself called the Skunky Elemental, so you can have him to tote around. It's kind of a cute model, I think. Now that you've seen how some of these rare spawn events kind of work, we're going to head down to the coast a little bit to Karkinos, who is very similar in that effect, and I'll show you how that one works. And then we'll head just a little bit down the ways on the water to Zesqua. He's not an event or anything, he's just a spawn, but still, we're in the neighborhood, so we'll kill him while we're there. While Karkinos is the rare spawn in this case, the actual spawn you have to trigger Karkinos to come up is Finn Longpaw. So when you see this fisherman, you know you can get Karkinos up. You have to get to Finn, speak to him, and he will fish up Karkinos for you, so then you can go ahead and take him out. Now, luckily, Karkinos only has one ability you really have to worry about, which is called Gushing Maw. The only problem with it is, it's an annoying one. If anybody has done SSC, they will be familiar with this particular ability. It knocks you back, it does damage, and again, overall, it's just really annoying. Luckily, his hitbox is pretty big, so you can go ahead as melee or whatever else and take him out. Just move around. We had, on another attempt, we had Warlock, and we had Demon Portals on either side, so we just jumped back and forth. You can hide down under the water to avoid the Gushing Maw as well. It won't do anything to you down there, just like in SSC, so it's just annoying, but it's tolerable. Now what Karkinos potentially has to drop for us is called the Giant Purse of Timeless Coins. Again, it's another bag full of stuff, just like we had the leather before, but this is the actual new currency that is used here on the Timeless Isle. I've gotten as many as 918 coins out of that bag before, so it's very much worth your while if you want to be saving up those coins and spending them on the Timeless Isle to kill Karkinos. Literally just down the dock from there on the water is Zesqua. As you can see, a lot of little ads. Not really anything consequential. You can take them down, but you can't really clear them before you pull Zesqua because they will instantly respawn. So you kind of just have to tolerate them during the fight. Now, Zesqua has two main abilities you really want to watch out for. One is called Water Blossom, which is going to be gonna rain dance again, like the Jinyu and we saw prior as well with Zugon with the Skunky Ale. And he's also going to have another one called Furious Splash, which is going to be a frontal cone, and you want to get out of that thing because it will do some considerable damage. Also, you can see the little water spots on the ground there, but just below the bubbles. You want to stay out of those as well. Now, technically, that's not his ability. It is the little ads, but still, don't stand in them. It's just better if you don't. Now, he has the potential to drop something called the Rain Stone, which apparently gives you your own little weather system around you, like a little cloud will be above your head, and wherever you go, it'll rain for 10 minutes. I'm not sure of this. I haven't actually seen this. Hopefully, it is still in the game, but I actually had a report of some of that stuff disappearing from people's bags. So we'll see, knock on wood, that item still is in existence and live. As we head down the coast to the east a little bit more, we're going to have our final set of rares for this particular guide. We're going to have Jackcore of Odin, Watcher Osu, which are young gull up in the Firewalker Ruins, and we're going to have our first experience with some pirate rares in Rattleskew and Stinkbraid, or as I like to call them, Stankbraid. Now you're going to see Jackcore just kind of chilling out up there, but he has a lot of ads around him. You're going to want to clear those out just to make it easier on yourself, unless you've got a bunch of people just nailing everything, which the Timeless Isle will be crazy at first, so I'm sure that'll happen. You're going to see his first ability there is called Cracking Blow. We've seen that in the Grassrang Wilds with the kind of PvP type rares that are down there for a patch 5.1, so we're familiar with that. And then, of course, there he's got his defensive little shield out, which is called Defensive Shield. Shocking. And so you just have to go ahead and attack him from the rear again, and I know, giggle. But you have to take him from behind. Giggle. Anyway, so we're used to that in Town Long Steps, so these Youngo have that ability. And anyway, he has potential to drop something called the Warning Sign, which actually you can put little signs down on the ground that have like a skull and crossbone on the front, but when you mouse over it, it'll have a tooltip, and you can select what it says. Now, you can select from a menu of what it says. You cannot type whatever you want it to say. My God, can you imagine? The gold sellers and stuff would put advertisements all over Pandaria. So no, you can't do that. But still, it's a fun little vanity item. Now, right around the corner from Jackcore, we're going to have Watcher Osu. Like I said, he's another Yongle right around the corner. There he is. And he's going to have a couple abilities. One, which is called Pyroblast. Pretty simple, just does fire damage. The other thing is Falling Flames. Guess what? It's another little rain dance situation. So you're going to have to dance, or you're going to have to stun him and keep him from doing it in the first place. As you can see, there we go. Just stay away from those big giant lava bolts and you will be fine. Now, just like Zesqua, reportedly he dropped something called an Ashen Stone. In this case, it's a different kind of storm stone that has, the weather system around you. Now, you can see in this case, I got the Odin ceremonial robes, which is basically a bag for cloth. So the jury is still out on whether those weather stones were removed or not. Now we head down the coast for our first pirate-themed event here in the area, and this is for the rare called Rattleskew. Now what you have to do is protect these ghostly pirates from some zombie pirates. If the captain of the ghost pirates is available, you can speak to him and start the event. What you do is fight off waves of these zombie pirates until Rattleskew appears, and then of course you go and defeat him. Now, Rattleskew has a Shadow Bolt and some other dots, as you can see, but nothing real significant to concern ourselves with. Just go ahead and take him out. He's a pretty quick kill after taking out those waves of zombie pirates. Now, the potential drop off of Rattleskew is very interesting. It's a trinket called Captain Svaven's Lost Leg. You use it and you summon the crew of the Barnacle to aid you in combat for 10 minutes. It has a 1-hour cooldown. This is exactly like the crate of kidnapped puppies from Kunlai. Of course, unfortunately, it's not puppies, it's ghost pirates, but, to each their own. That's kind of cool, too. Now down a little bit further east, you're going to find another pirate ship. This one is actually still afloat. It is the boat of Captain Stinkbraid, and you're going to want to take him out. Now, of course, you're going to have to deal with his other crew members before you can get to him, because he's going to be up at the wheel like all the captains are in this game. But normally we'd take them out first and then take him out, but somebody else came and pulled, so we had to deal with it all at once, so don't do it this way. But Stinkbraid really doesn't have a lot of abilities. He has one main thing, which is his AoE of stink. You can see the green around him, so you're going to kind of have to heal through that and deal with it as you go along, but that's all he really does. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of melee attacks, so just hold your nose and just fight along as you got to. And unfortunately, we don't have any information in terms of what he drops special, so you're going to get your standard stuff from him, so I'm not sure exactly if they'll put something in or if they change something, but such is the nature of the PTR. Hopefully, when this goes live, we'll know something more and I can annotate this. Alright guys, that's it for me on this particular guide for the rares of the Timeless Isle. Part 1, Part 2 will be out shortly. I will put the annotations up here on the screen. Now I want to thank so many people that helped make this possible. Euphyley over at WoWRareSpawns.blogspot.com. You can see she's the one who gave us this map. Perculia over at WoWHead and all the WoWHead information that they have over there. I wouldn't be able to do these guides without them. And my guys over in Trauma 2, my guild, Pag and Jacob and Stephanie, you guys, thank you so much for coming and helping me kill rares. And Euphyley did that too. She was actually the hunter you saw in some of these kills. So thanks so much, guys. Part 2 will be out shortly, and we will see you then. Thanks, and like, comment, and subscribe. It really means a lot to me, okay? Thank you.